No. Sorry, it's a clickbait, I know, but no. I don't think so. It hasn't done it to me yet because, okay, here's the thing. I find these shoes fascinating because, like, on the one hand, they're so comfortable. They're essentially like lazy boys, right? But then on the other hand, you've got this guy winning every bike race that he ever does on them. And so you're thinking to yourself, geez, maybe there's some performance advantage to this. Like, what's going on here? I've got some thoughts on this. I've been riding these for a month. I also bought these secondhand, so they'd already been ridden a little bit. Clearly is kind of interesting, I reckon, because durability, massive issue with these shoes. All right, let's do it. So the DMT KRSLs, the latest and greatest from DMT. Let's have a quick look at the specs before we get into the review. So this is the fully engineered 3D knit ultralight upper. It's what we're all talking about with these shoes. And it is very much like putting a sock on as your shoe. You can see the weight there at the bottom. Let's do a quick test. So this is my Rafa shoe with a look black cleat on it and the inner sole removed. This is the DMT with the same look black cleat and inner sole removed. So when it comes to shoes, I think you've got three things to consider every time you go and purchase one. And that is, you've got performance, you've got durability, and you've got aesthetic. And I want to break this down with these shoes because I think in each of these categories, you are dealing with some trade-offs. Look, with the performance of the shoe, obviously you can't get away from the fact they're just outrageously comfortable, okay? And that may sound amazing to everyone, but we'll get on to that. But they just really are. You put them on, they're like a slipper. And the fact that they are now laces as well just adds to that because you can do that even amount of pressure across the top of the shoe. That to me very much comes at a trade-off. Like, it's a massive trade-off with these shoes, I believe, okay? And I went to a bike fitter here in Sydney and I asked them their theory on this.
The Flyknit upper can be more comfortable, but for the arch support and the knee tracking, it probably places more importance to corrective or supportive, I think, inner soles and custom footbeds rather than relying on the shoe for the structure. So that for me is the big thing. You really notice if it's too soft in the upper, they'll collapse more through the arch under load.
I've rode the first version of these shoes, which were a much higher profile shoe. These shoes are following the new trend as well, which is to go a lower profile shoe. And to lower the profile of the shoe, you're coming further down the heel. Coming down the heel basically means you have less material grasping onto your heel. And for me, that means your heel moves around. Like, there's just no two ways about that. Your heel moves around. Now, I asked the bike fitter in Sydney, like, does that matter? Like, is there just masses of watts sliding out?
When your foot is locked into the pedal, I don't think your foot really forwards and back moves too much. I think any lace system or thing is kind of nice, and the forefoot support of these shoes is wider now, and being softer is more comfortable. So easily, like, the improvements that we're seeing in modern shoes to the width and the materials used in this area is far better.
Just a note on sizing with these. These shoes seem to be very much following this trend at the moment for wider is the new normal. This toe box is wide to begin with, then throw into the mix that you are also running this loose fitting Flyknit sort of material. This seems to be a trend now. You are certainly seeing new brands come on board, and even with the new Specialized shoes, you're seeing that their regular fit is actually what their wide fit used to be. So that's a note on sizing. The length has been pretty standard for me in the Rafa shoes and the Shimano shoes that I ran pretty well before that, 43 in everything. Another note on performance, and I think this comes to the comfort thing. Obviously the laces thing, it's great. It gives you that even sort of coverage across the foot. Yes, it's a pain in the ass every time you get your shoes on and all the rest of it. Taking a look at the shoes from a front-on angle, you could potentially argue that removing the boas does make it a very streamlined, fast, aerodynamic shoe. And you have this really nice thing where you can tuck the laces into this kind of slip area, which sounds great and mostly in practice works well until
What I just wanted to quickly mention is, so I didn't really notice the heel issue too much there, but what I did find is just on top of this shoe here, it's actually where the laces kind of bulk up. See that? I mean, look at that lace, right? You kind of feel like there's a lot of lace there, isn't there? See that big bulk there? Yeah. Anyway.
Now there's a possible workaround that I could chop those laces, and shorten them, and then so you wouldn't have as much then tucking in under the little pouch. But it's an issue, and I have felt it on every ride over 2 hours, just in that little nodule bit around the top of your foot. There's some pressure on it because of that amount of lace. A performance positive you may not have thought about, and this could go for all laces shoes, getting knee and leg warmers on and off while you're on the bike, so much easier without boas. Okay, so the durability of these shoes, I just don't think they're realistic. I just don't. To the point that, look, there's been nothing fatal happen to them, right? So as many of you guys know, it's been pretty deplorable weather in Sydney this year, right? And I've ridden these shoes in it. And after those wet rides, I have cleaned the shoes from top to bottom, like nappy sand, everything, and got them back to pretty much their working condition. More than that, I did a few rides that weren't necessarily wet rides, but you got some road dirt, we went through some puddles and all the rest of it, and the shoes still get dirty. Dirty to the extent you can't just wipe them clean with some baby wipes. You've essentially got to do a full shoe clean every single time, and it's not realistic. A few incidental marks that have happened just from tyres, at the lights and stuff like that. Things that you normally can maybe wipe off pretty easily or don't stand out that much, but on these shoes, they really do stand out. What I will say though is there are 2 layers to this knit. So you can see just around the toe or on the bottom layer, there's more protection. So there is more ability there to wipe off gunk. It's when the gunk gets to that top layer, you can see where that sort of plasticky stuff isn't quite there anymore. When that gets into there, that's where you're basically not able to wipe anything off and you have to go the full shoe clean option. The last point on durability, maybe this isn't durability, but I want to rant about it anyway. The inner soles that the DMT ship with are absolute trash. This goes, I think, for a lot of high-end shoes at the moment. The fact that you are buying a shoe for over $500 and it's shipping with a piece of trash, piece of polyurethane, is a disgrace. Your own custom inner sole is an absolute must. Whilst there hasn't been any fatal issue with them, I just can't see how. I can't see how this plays out in 12 to 18 months in anything other than a sloppy outcome. So we might have been a bit negative on these shoes so far, but clearly the biggest positive is the aesthetic. Guys, they look amazing. They really do. They look $1 million. In the white really does shine for a month or so, and add that sort of ribbed kind of thing along the side, they look sick. And obviously DMT have just struck gold when it came to actually putting these on Tadej, I don't know, a couple of years ago or whatever. But that adds, you look down and you go, I'm a Tour de France winner. I'm sorry, I know I shouldn't think like that. We would not be having, I don't think so, we wouldn't be having this conversation unless it was for the fact that Tadej wins every bike race he does, and I'm looking there going, he's wearing those shoes. I wonder if that's the key. Maybe that's why he's got the 440 watt threshold. But it's crazy because, I'm sorry, the shoes are stupid. They're stupid for an amateur person who has a set of shoes to ride around it.
Mesh white shoes should probably never be used by an amateur cyclist, I reckon. It's a bike fitter's or a bike mechanic's worst nightmare. They're just absolute grease traps, so it's a no from me on the fashion side of this.
That said, I am going to continue to ride them, and I'm actually going to hang on to these. So I'm not going to ride them all the time, but I do want to hang on to them, ride them every now and again, keep them for essentially a year and sort of see where they are in that place, because I'm sitting here telling you guys, I just can't see it. I just can't see this being realistic in a year. Well, let's find out, all right? So I am going to do that. The next vlog is going to be from somewhere else. That's all I want to say at this point. So thank you very much for watching. It's been a cleansing thing for me today to do a shoe review. Haven't done one for like 3 weeks. It's been great. So, but the next vlog will be in somewhere different. So stay tuned for that. Make sure to subscribe for this wonderful sort of tease that I'm giving you. And we'll see you real soon, alright? So you've been on my watch. That's how I do this. It's quite cool, isn't it? Bye-bye. 3, 2, 1. Right, let's do a review of the DMT. What are they called? Should probably work out what they're called, couldn't I? KRSL. Told you.